Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 8 of a 41-part series of tutorials in Fundamentals of Object-Oriented Programming in Java. In this presentation, we are going to look at the data types that are used in Java. My name is MemJM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. A data type is the nature or value to be taken by a memory location that enable the compiler to correctly specify operations to be carried out on it and enable the computer to operate on it. The two main groups of data types used in Java programming are the primitive data types, which we also call the simple, the standard, or the scalar data types. And number two is what we call the non-primitive data types, which are also called the structured data types, the composite data types, or the derived data types. So what are primitive data types? What are those data types that we call the simple, the standard, the scalar, or the primitive data types? These are the data types that are directly manipulated by the commands of the programming language and have a built-in support. In other words, these are data types that are predefined. Their meanings is known and their sizes is known by the compiler or the translator. The word primitive means a fundamental component that is used to create other larger parts. A primitive data type, therefore, specifies the size and the type of variable values, and it has no additional methods. Their names start with a lowercase letter. They include byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. So those are the eight. Those are the 8 primitive data types that we use in Java. I repeat, these data types are byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. So the non-primitive ones, the non-primitive, or what we call the structured composite type data types, are those data types that are created by the programmer by grouping the basic or simple data types together to form new data types. They are also called reference types. Why? Because they refer to objects. They include string, arrays, and classes. Generally, data values used in Java can either be a number, which is either a whole number or a number with a fraction. It can be a boolean, a character, or a string. The primitive data types can therefore be described as follows. So these are the data types that you can use, the primitive data types that you can use when you are writing programs in Java, and more so, those programs that require you to set memory location aside or declare what we call the variables that are supposed to indicate, or the declaration is supposed to indicate the type of data that the memory that we are setting aside will be used to hold. So one of them is byte. Byte is like the smallest data type with the lowest size of memory. Byte stores whole numbers from -128 to 127. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, if you are going to require very small numbers, your memory location is going to hold a very small number whose range is between -128 to +127. Then the type of data or the data type you use is the byte. The next one, the next data type is short. Short has a size of 2 bytes. Remember, a byte is usually, or it contains of 8. It contains of a series of 8 zeros and ones. That's a byte. And therefore 2 bytes means 16 bits. A single byte consists of 8 bits. So 2 bytes will be 16 bits. Now, this data type stores whole numbers whose range is negative 32,768 to positive 32,767. And therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, if in your memory location, the memory you are going to set aside is going to hold or be used to hold the values that range between negative 32,768 to positive 32,768, then short data type is the best. The third data type is int, which stands for integer. Its size is 4 bytes, meaning it can allow you to enter data whose size does not exceed 32 bits. This data type stores whole numbers, and these whole numbers range from 2,147,483,648 to 2,147,483,647. So you can see this is quite big in memory, or any memory set aside, and you tell the compiler that it is going to hold a value of type integer or int. Automatically the compiler will set aside, or the processor will set aside, that size of memory that will allow you to store a huge number like the one which I have already read. Then the other data type is called long. Long is twice int. Its memory location is quite big. So when you declare a variable and you tell the compiler or the translator that the data type or type of values that will be entered or stored in it will be of type long, then automatically the processor will set aside a very huge memory. A huge memory that will accommodate a very huge number, as you can see in this example of mine, that long stores whole numbers from, you can see that range, very big. I may not even be able to pronounce it, but as you can see, it is a very, very long number. So, my dear students and the rest of the learners, be very careful. Be very careful when you're using various data types, because if, for example, you use long, you declare a memory location of data type long, yet you are going to be entering numbers which are very small, like 1, 2, 3, then you end up wasting a lot of memory that would have been used for other activities. So always choose the appropriate data type. Now, we have also data types that have decimal points or fractions. One of them is float. Its size is 4 bytes. It stores fractional numbers that are sufficient for storing 6 to 7 decimal digits. We have double. Double is 8 bits or 8 bytes. 8 bytes. Or what we call 64 bits. It stores fractional numbers and is sufficient for storing 15 decimal digits. The other type is Boolean, which is 1 bit in size, and it stores true or false values. And the last one is char, which is 2 bytes, 16 bits, and it stores a single character, letter, or ASCII values. Then only primitive data types are also called reference types. Why? They refer to objects. The main difference between primitive and non-primitive data types are that primitive data types are predefined. Their meaning is already known in Java. But the non-primitive types are created by the programmer and is not defined by Java, except for string. The non-primitive types can be used to call methods to perform certain operations, while primitive types cannot. A primitive type always has a value, while non-primitive types can be null. A primitive type, therefore, starts with a lowercase letter, while non-primitive types start with uppercase letter. So in other words, if you're going to define your own user-defined data types, their names must begin with uppercase. But for the predefined data types, their names must always begin with a lowercase. Therefore, The following are some examples of non-primitive data types. We have a string, we have arrays, we have class. A string is a data type that is used to store a sequence of characters. String values must always be surrounded by double quotes. A string in Java is actually an object which contains methods that can perform certain operations on strings. For example, swap. Just like the primitive data types, a string variable can be declared and initialized with some text during declaration time. Or you can just declare a string variable and then assign a value to it later during processing. A string in Java is therefore an object which contains methods that perform certain operations on strings. Initializing a string variable at declaration time can be done as follows. You enclose the text that you want to assign in a memory location in double quotes, and you specify the type, which is string. Like in this case, we have string. The name of the variable is variable name, and you are assigning into it text. For example, string full name equals to Meme Julius M. Ligera. Assigning a value to a string variable as entered by the user. So you declare the variable like string full name, and then you can assign into it a value by prompting the user to enter the value using a statement like scan.nextLine, assign what will be entered by the user into the memory location called full name. And because it is scan.nextLine, nextLine simply means that whatever you are assigning in the memory location called full name will be of type string or a sequence of characters. Then we have arrays. Arrays are used to store multiple values in a single variable instead of declaring separate variables for each value. We have the other one called class. Class is a data type that is composed of data members of various primitive types and methods. It acts as a template for objects. So the following is a sample program implementing data types that prompts the user for his or her name and age. Then welcomes him or her to Java programming and informs him or her about her current age and indicates how he or she will be 10 years from now. So the program is package welcome ages. So when we are creating our program, our project name will be welcome ages. Then it will be followed by import java.atil.scanner, which we have said is a very important statement if you are going to make use of, or you are going to enter values in your program. And therefore, the statement import java.atil.scanner is key. Then we have public class welcome ages. You can see that the name of the class is similar to the name of the package. And then we have public static void main, in which we have declared a constant called years, and we are assigning 10 value to 80, and therefore we declare it as final int years equals to 10. We have another variable called name, which has been declared as of type string. Another one is age and later years, which is of type integer. From there, once you have declared our variables, we create a scan object, an object through which we are going to be creating from. And the statement for doing that is scanner scan equals to new scanner system.in. My dear students and the rest of the learners, learn to master these statements. And if you don't know the meaning, kindly go back to our previous presentations from part 1 in this series, in which I've explained about some of such meanings like this object. Then the user is prompted to type his or her name. So the statement is system.out.println, what is your full name? And then we read it. And you can see the object we are using is scan. So the statement is as scan.next line, pick whatever that is there and assign it in the memory location called name. In other words, pick whatever that has been typed in by the user through the keyboard and assign it in the memory location called name. Then characters from that string are sent to the monitor as follows. System.out.println, karibu, and then whatever value that has been stored in the memory location called name is read from and displayed on the screen, followed by the ones Java programming. Then we have another statement which says, how old are you? So if the name, or if what you entered under name, or you saved under name was meme, it will pick that value meme from the variable called name and make it be part and parcel of this statement. And therefore the statement would look as follows. How old are you now? Meme. How old are you now? Meme. So then we read, the user will key in a value, and that value must be a whole number. It will be keyed in, read, and assigned into the memory location called age. And then we have the output statement which states, meme, it seems that you are 10 years old now. So the content of the variable called age will be picked and be made to be part of this statement. And also it will be part of the string little. So in this statement, we are reading two variables. One of them is name and the other one is age. Such that if under name you entered Otieno and under age you entered 10, the program will display the statement Otieno, it seems that you are 20 years old now. From there, this statement is adding the values, some years to what has been entered as age. So if the user has been prompted to enter his or her age and he or she types 10, then at the end of the day, the value which is stored in the memory location called years will be picked. That value will be picked, be added to what is in age, and the total will be assigned to the memory location called later years. And then it is followed by an output statement which says you will be whatever figure you have gotten as later years. For example, if you entered 5, and then the value that has been given the memory location called years is 10, then the program will display you will be 15 years old in the next 10 years. And that is the end of that method and the end of the program. So this program that we have discussed can be coded as follows in Java. So let's see how that program will behave if we code it in Java, a program using an IDE, which is Eclipse. So what do you need to do? So to proceed, we launch our IDE, which is Eclipse. So you click on Start menu, then look for Eclipse or any other IDE that we want to use. So click on Eclipse and click on Eclipse IDE for Java developers. And then you wait for it to complete launching or starting. You can see this saying starting Eclipse IDE. So you just need to wait patiently. Once the IDE or the program has loaded, you can now proceed and create a project. So click on File menu, point on New, then click on Java project. I'll call my Java project Welcome Ages. Welcome Ages. That's just a name because this program will be welcoming the user and telling the user how he or she will be in terms of age 10 years from now. So in this screen or this window, we are only going to enter or type the project name. And then we just click on Finish button. As you can see, we now have our project here, Welcome Ages, amongst the other projects. So we create our file inside this project. So we click on it, point on New, and then you are going to click on Class. Once you click on Class, you can see the name of our source folder has been suggested. We retain it. Packages, you can see the name of the package is similar to the name of our file, or is almost similar, is similar to the name of our project. Then from there, you can type the name of our file. Now the name of my file will be the same as the name of my project, which will be, the name will be Welcome Ages. Remember, my dear students and the rest of the learners, it is important always for the name of the project, the name of the class, the name of the class, the name of the class to be similar to the name of the project or the package, but note, for the package, the ones are written in lowercase. But for the project name, the first character must be in uppercase because this is the name you are giving yourself as a user, and that name is not predefined. So in this case, I'll delete my small letter W and type 1 in uppercase. That way, Welcome Ages. Then specify the modifier. Our modifier is public. Then choose which method stubs would you like to create. I have said it's always going to choose public static void main. Then you click on Finish. You can see we have been given a stub, a section of our code. The package is called Welcome Ages. The public class is Welcome Ages. So from there, you can now add our statements in between here. So you can select that comment and organize your code that way. And because this program will be prompting the user to enter something, we have to include the scanner statement. So above, just below package, you can type the statement import, and my dear students, make it an habit to be writing this statement. So it is import Java dot until dot scanner. As you can see, S is in uppercase. Import java.util.scanner. You can see it is being underlined in a way. If you write that way, it will have an error. So this should be uppercase. And then from there, you can click in between. Remember, this is the main function, the main method that controls the execution flow, or the flow of execution above or in the entire program. So you code your statements here. So I'll create space that way, and then I'll type my program here. So I have just right-clicked and pasted my instructions because I have already coded them. And therefore, that's why I'm not taking time. I'm not taking time to type every sentence from the scratch. So I have just copied my program and pasted it here. But when you are writing this program yourself for the first time, remember to write it word for word, statement by statement. So that is my code. That is my code. And you can see I can remove some of these spaces here, or I can even format it or indent it nicely that way, so that it also becomes easy for you to track any messages that you may have by removing any unnecessary spaces within your program. So here is my program that we have already discussed. What I want us to see is how this program will behave. Remember, it's always good to write your program on a piece of paper, run it within your piece of paper, so that when you translate it or you translate it to an IDE or an editor for programming language, it becomes very easy for you then to rectify any errors that may be in it. So once you have typed your program, you click on File and Save. So it is saved. The next thing, of course, is to run our program. So we click on Run, and then we click on Run. And as you can see, my program has no errors. And you can see from the output part, it is asking, what is your full name? So already, the statement which is being processed is this one. And now it is waiting for this part. So what is your full name? You can proceed and type. I can proceed and type my full name. So how do you type your full name? So you just click on the output part here and you type your full name. So my full name is Meme Julius, aka Emily Swap. Then you press enter. You can see what it is telling me. Karibu Meme Julius, aka Emily Swap, Java programming. How old are you now, Meme Julius, aka Emily Swap? Always ensure you make your program as user-friendly as possible. If I type that I'm 10 years, how old will I be 10 years from now? You press enter. You can see it says, Meme Julius, aka Emily Swap. It seems that you are 10 years old now. You will be 20 years old in the next 10 years. So you can see how we go about it. So we have been able to code our program, compile it, and run it. We have been able to write a program that prompts the user for his or her age and stand to it and displays the results on the screen. And therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, that brings us to the end of part 8 of the fourth one part series of tutorials. You can now proceed and listen as well as watch part 9 of fourth one of the series, in which you are going to learn about the variables and identifiers as used in Java programming. Congratulations for learning part 8 of fourth one on data types in Java in fundamentals of object-oriented programming using Java. You can access the rest of the parts in the series as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on Emily Swap ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video on YouTube if it's not currently reading or subscribed. If you have any further correspondence or questions, kindly write to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's meet in part 9 of the series, and God bless.